My parents spent $230,000 on my sister's wedding sculptures, a champagne wall, a band that flew in on a private jet. When my son's doctor said $85,000 would save his life, they looked me in the eye and said, "We can't help." I believed them. Until I saw the receipts. The day the estimate was printed at 7:42 a.m., the paper was still warm in my hand. Estimate, $85,000. Line items I could barely read through the blur. Surgical team. ICU bed, medication not covered by insurance. The doctor's voice was calm, practiced. "It's urgent, Maya. We have a window." My son Ethan was 6, and brave in a way no child should have to be. He called the monitors, space beeps, and asked if astronauts needed shots too. I told him good astronauts do. I drove from the hospital to my parents' house, still in the scrubs I'd slept in on a chair. Mum set her coffee down and smoothed her perfect hair like she was preparing for a photo. Dad checked his smartwatch. Sophie's wedding was in 3 weeks. The rehearsal dinner seating chart covered the dining table, all blush and gold. "Ethan needs a surgery," I said, placing the estimate between the charger plates. "Insurance won't cover this part. I need help." They didn't touch the paper. Mum's smile went stiff. "Oh, honey. We're not liquid right now." Dad cleared his throat like a judge. "We committed our resources to Sophie's day. Deposits are non-refundable." "Non-refundable," I repeated, because the word felt obscene next to the one that mattered, urgent. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. That afternoon, Sophie sent a group text with a video of the venue. Crystal chandeliers, a hedge wall, spelling #Sophie and Sam in roses. She added a caption. "Florals came in a little height, $28,000, but worth it." A minute later, Mum forwarded an invoice, band $18,400. Dad replied with a thumb up. I didn't cry. Not then. I opened my laptop and pulled every document I had into a blue folder. Hospital estimate, $85,000. Venue invoice, $113,400. Due next Friday. Florals $28, $28. Cakes. Ice, extras, $12,600. Band and lighting, $18,400. Miscellaneous champagne wall, confetti cannons, $7,600 total, $230,000. The price of a weekend they would remember in pictures, versus the price of a life I carried home from the NICU 6 years ago. At 8:13 p.m., Dad called. "We've discussed it. Weddings are planned, medical things are complicated. We can't set a precedent." A precedent. I looked at Ethan asleep, with a dinosaur tucked under his arm, breathing that brave, soft way. Then I looked at the blue folder. Sophie's final tasting was tomorrow night at the venue. Family only, the invitation said. Gold script like a command. I wasn't on the list. I went anyway. The venue smelled like lilies and money. A coordinator in black clicked a pen and said my name like a question. I held up the folder. 5 minutes, I said. 4 facts. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Inside the private dining room, candles burned, and a cake sample waited on gold forks. My parents looked up, startled, guilty, annoyed, every expression, except the one I needed. I set the blue folder in the center of their perfect table and flipped it open to $85,000. Pick your non-refundable, I said. And for the first time all week, my hands didn't shake. Candles burned low. A cake sample waited on gold forks like a prop. The venue coordinator hovered near the wall, tablet in one hand, a pen in the other. My parents stared at the $85,000 page like it might stain the linen dot. Dad cleared his throat. Maya, this is not the place. It's the place where the money is, I said, calm. So it's exactly the place. Sophie flicked her hair. You can't barge into my tasting and make it about you. It's about Ethan, I said. He didn't barge anywhere. Mum softened her voice, the way she does when she wants to be the hero later. We'll figure something out after the wedding. We don't have after, I said. We have 72 hours. I set my phone on the table. A text from the doctor glowed on the lock screen. Window tightening. Earlier is better. My hands didn't shake. If $20,000 clears by Friday, the hospital's Compassionate Care Fund matches the rest. We get the surgery date. The coordinator's eyes flicked to me. That program's real, she said quietly. My cousin used it. I flipped the blue folder. Here's how you find 20 by Friday without burning the whole plan. I slid out printed change orders I'd prepared with vendor policies I'd read at 2 a.m. Florals, cut installs in half. Keep bouquets refund $9,000. Lighting, swap the Edison canopy for house. Package $3,200 credit. Confetti cannons and champagne wall, cancels $7,600. Band, keep the quartet for the ceremony. Drop the flown-in drummer, $2,400. I tapped the totals. That's $22,200 back this week. Enough to trigger the match. No one loses a meal. No one loses a dress. You lose photos of sparks and a hedge. Sophie laughed, high and thin. You researched my wedding like a coupon blog. I researched how to keep your nephew alive, I said. Dad glanced at the coordinator. Are these policies accurate? She checked her tablet. Yes. Within our 48-hour modification window, which closes at 5 p.m. tomorrow. She looked at me, surprised. You pulled the right PDFs. Mum's eyes shone, but not from tears, from anger. We already promised these things to guests. You promised a marriage, I said. The guests won't notice the wall is real leaves. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. I set a kitchen timer from my bag in the center of the table. Screen up. 20 o'clock. It began to count down. You have 20 minutes to sign these changes, so refunds process by morning. Then I drive straight to the hospital with the receipt. I slid pens across the linen. If you won't, I'll still get the money. I'll post the invoices. I'll call the church. I'll send this folder to every aunt with a group chat. I will not let non-refundable be the last word Ethan hears. Sophie pushed back her chair. You are blackmailing your own family at my tasting. I'm showing math, I said. The timer ticked 18:42. The room breathed like a held note. Dad leaned back, trying on control. We can take a small loan next week. The fund requires the family to put skin in now, I said. That's the point. Mum looked at the cake. We'll pray, she said. We can pray while we sign. I said. The coordinator shifted, suddenly very interested in the seam of her tablet case. I can process the changes if the contract holder initials each line, she said. I need both signatures. She glanced between my parents. You're the contract holders. Sophie's phone lit with a text. She didn't look, her jaw flexed. You can't steal my wedding to bankroll your choices. Ethan didn't choose a failing valve, I said. The timer ticked 15:10. The room felt like glass. Footsteps sounded in the doorway. Sam, Sophie's fiancé, stepped in, tie loosened, smile ready, then stalled when he saw the folder. What's going on? Sophie spun. Nothing. Tasting. She's being dramatic. He looked at me, then at the pages I'd fanned under the candles. He read numbers fast, lips moving. $230,000, $85,000. Refund. $9,000. Window closes 5 p.m. His face changed. Is this accurate? He asked the coordinator. She nodded once. Within policy, he looked at Sophie. You told me the wall was 12, not 28. It's a look, Sam, she snapped. It matters. He kept reading. He reached for the pen. Give me the line that frees 9, he said quietly. Dad's chair scraped. Sam didn't look up. If my name's on any of these vendors, we're cutting them now. The timer blinked 13:02. He turned to me. What else hits by morning? I slid the next form across the linen. For the first time since I'd walked in, the room tilted toward possible. The timer blinked 12:59. Florals first, I said. That's the big one. I slid the $9,000 change order to the center. Initial every line with your legal initials, then sign the bottom. Dad stared at the pen like it might bite. Mum dabbed at a dry eye. Sophie crossed her arms so tight, the bracelet cut light. Sam didn't wait. Where are my vendors? He asked the coordinator. She checked her tablet. Entertainment and transport are under you. Great, he said. Drop the drummer, keep the quartet, he signed. Cancel the after-party bus. People can rideshare, he signed again. What does that free? $2,400 and $1,800, she said, tapping. Both hit by morning, done. He slid the pen toward my parents. Your turn. Dad's jaw worked. This is not how family decisions are made. You decided without me when you wrote checks to fireworks, I said. Now decide with me. The timer blinked, 11:21. Mum touched the floral sheet with 2 fingers, like it might burn. 9,000 is. The ceremony arch, she said. And the aisle in stalls. It's the look. The look is 2 people getting married, Sam said, gentle but firm. Sign it, Mrs. Patel. Silence, stretched. The coordinator didn't fill it. She just held the tablet like a scale dot. Dad exhaled through his nose and took the pen. 1 initial 2 signature. The ink looked heavy. Mum followed, hand trembling but moving. Lighting next, I said. $3,200 credit. House package is fine. They signed. The confetti cannons and champagne wall fell next. Secha Vigala says Dollary's dad, muttering something about expectations. Mom whispering, we'll do balloons. Pen. Initials. Signature. The timer hit 8:05. Sophie's chair scraped. You're gutting my wedding because you couldn't plan your life. She snapped at me, eyes bright and mean. You had a child without a husband, and now you want the family wallet. I didn't flinch. I want breathing. Sam turned to her. Soph, what? She fired back. My little sister did chemo in 7th grade, he said quietly. We sold my dad's motorcycle so she could start sooner. The bike was a look. She is a life. We're signing. Her mouth opened and closed. Color rose in her neck. The coordinator cleared her throat. Time check. To post today, I need swipes and signatures in 7 minutes. I can process credits on my end and email receipts. Dad pulled out his card. Run whatever you need. Refunds, she corrected gently. The charges will reverse. The timer blinked, 6:42. My phone buzzed. Dr. Lee, our calendar is tight. If Compassionate confirms by 3 p.m., we can hold Monday 7:30 a.m. Call me when you have proof. I held up the screen. We need receipts now. We can push from the office, the coordinator said, already moving. She spoke into her radio. Front desk. Cue credits for Patel wedding codes on my screen. Send itemized emails as each processes. A line of emails started arriving like beads on a string. Subject florals. Credit, $9,000 issued ref hash. Subject, lighting credit $3,200. Issued Decibijais. Extras, credit, $7,600. Issued as UBJSI. Band adjustment $2,400, SUBJECT. Transport, cancellation, $1, 800. I forwarded each to Compassionate Care with the subject. Match trigger family contribution proof. ICCD, Dr. Lee, and the hospital financial counselor. My hands were steady. The timer ticked for 19. Mum's face cracked. We will look cheap, she whispered. We'll look kind, Sam said. Dad signed the last page. The coordinator swiped the card one more time for a $500 administrative fee to push credits same day. This one costs, she warned. I'll cover it, Dad said, trying to make control out of a fee. The timer ticked 3:12. Everything's posted, the coordinator said, reading her tablet. Emails sent. You'll see refunds pending by 8 a.m. I can print a summary letter with our stamp if you need to deliver paper. Yes, I said. Please. She disappeared and returned with a letter on venue letterhead, on this date. The following credits have been processed, totaling $24,000. Expect funds within 24 to 48 hours. Signed, Events Manager. I snapped a photo and hit send to the hospital thread. Then I called. It's Maya. Check your inbox. Keys clacked on the other end. The counselor's voice came back fast. Got it? This satisfies family contribution. I'm alerting compassionate now. Another call beeped. In Dr. Lee. We're holding Monday, 7:30 a.m., she said. We'll keep that slot if the match email arrives by 3. You did good. The timer blinked 1:06. I turned it off and flipped it on its face. Sophie stared at the dead screen like she could restart it with her anger. Are you happy? She asked, voice shaking. You ruined my wall. You saved your nephew's heart, Sam said. Dad picked up the blue folder. The papers inside weren't hypothetical anymore. They were proof. He looked older, and, in a way I hadn't seen, smaller. He nodded once. Not proud, not defeated, decided. Go, he said. Take the letter, get your boy on the list. I didn't thank him, not because I wasn't grateful, because a thanks would make this generosity. It wasn't, it was love doing math. I tucked the stamped letter into my bag and stood as I reached the door. The coordinator touched my arm. I have a niece, she said. Tell Ethan the space beeps are cheering for him. I smiled for the first time in days. I will. Outside, the air felt different. I called the sitter. Keep Ethan awake a little, I said. We're going to eat pancakes for dinner and watch space videos. Then my phone vibrated again. Compassionate Care Fund, match approved. Family contribution verified. Proceed to scheduling. I leaned against the cool stone wall and closed my eyes. For the first time all week, the window wasn't closing, it had opened. I left the venue with the stamped letter in my bag and a new sound in my head, a clock that didn't tick. It hammered by the time I reached the parking lot. My phone buzzed. Financial counselor, match approved, is great. One more thing, policy requires a $10,000 deposit by midnight to lock the Monday slot. Credits you triggered are pending. We need cleared funds or a verified bridge. Dr. Lee will hold the OR until midnight. After that, anesthesia call if you hit a wall. I checked the time, 5:46 p.m. Friday. Bank wires had already yawned shut. My savings app showed $3,200. Rent and groceries. Not a deposit. I called the hospital billing portal. Card limit for a single payment, $5,000 unless your bank lifted the cap. My bank's after-hours line rang to a recorded menu that felt like an insult. I called Dad. He answered on the second ring. We signed. What more? I need $10,000 by midnight, I said. It holds the room. Refunds hit Monday morning, but they can't count until they clear. Silence, then the sound of a man looking for a loophole. I can send $2,500 right now, he said. That's all I can move after cutoff. Send it, I said. Text me the confirmation. I called Sam next. He picked up like he'd been waiting. I heard, he said. How much are you short? 10, I said. Dad can move $2,500. I've got $3,200. Portal caps me at 5. Unless the bank, I can push $7,500 from my emergency fund. Now, he said, I'll take the hit and replace it when the venue credits post. Text me the link. Sam, I started. Text me the link, he said again, and hung up to move. I sent him the portal URL with Ethan's patient number. The ping of 2 confirmations landed almost on top of each other. Incoming wire transfer, $2,500 from R. Paddle incoming. Credit card payment, $7,500 from S. Walker. I pushed my $3,200 through on my card. Declined. Fraud alert. I dialed the bank again and pounded 0 until a human picked up. Emergency medical charge, I said, breath tight. Override the limit. Security questions, the rep said gently. I answered them with hands that wouldn't stop moving. She lifted the ceiling. Try now. The portal spun, then flashed payment accepted, $3,200. Total received. $13,200. I called the counselor. All in, I said. 3 payments. Clear keys clacked. We're good, she said. Deposit logged. Slot locked. I'm emailing you a statement. My legs put me on the curb like they didn't trust gravity. I called the sitter. "Stay up," I said. "We're doing pancakes and a movie." Before I pulled away, my phone lit again. "Mum, your aunt thinks we're canceling the wedding. People are asking questions." Me. "Tell them, the wedding is on. The wall is leaves. The heart is scheduled." No reply. At home, I told Ethan we were having astronaut pancakes. He laughed and poured too many sprinkles. We watched a short video about rockets, and he asked if the OR had a countdown. "Kind of," I said. "We'll say 10 together." He got quiet. "Will it hurt?" "Some," I said, "but then, it gets better." He nodded like a 6-year-old trying on Brave. Between flipping pancakes and packing a pre-op bag, my phone kept vibrating. Venue, summary letter attached, PDF. Credits totaled $24,000. Expect Monday. Hospital, deposit confirmation $13,200. Match approval, in force, surgery Monday. 7:30 a.m., Dad received. I'll cover the balance if the refunds get stuck. No speeches. Sam, we're fine on the wedding. I'll explain the wall to my side. Focus on Ethan. At 9:12 p.m., Sophie finally texted. You turned my tasting into a fundraiser. I stared at the bubble. Typed, deleted, typed, me. We turned your extras into an operating room. Monday, 7:33. Then nothing. I tucked Ethan in with the dinosaur under his arm and sat in the dark hall for a minute, listening to the soft beeps of the baby monitor we still used when he was sick. My body felt like a bridge someone had finally stopped walking on. At 11:03 p.m. The coordinator, Late Night Angel, slid one more email into my inbox. Vendor freeze. No reinstatements accepted until after Monday. She'd added a line, I knew she didn't have to. Our team wishes Ethan a safe surgery. I forwarded it to the family thread with no comment. Dad reacted with a checkmark. Mum sent a prayer hands emoji that felt like it wanted to be more. I set 3 alarms. 4:45, las 5, las 5:15. I laid out Ethan's socks, the button-up pajamas, the stuffed dino he called Orbit. I printed the deposit receipt and the match approval, and slid them into the blue folder like armor just before midnight. My phone buzzed one last time. Dr. Lee, see you in pre-op. We've got him. I turned the kitchen timer from the tasting over so the blank screen faced up. Let the night count what it wanted. In 7 hours, the countdown we wanted would begin. And in a quiet waiting room with bad coffee and good hope, the people who told me non-refundable would have to decide what they believed after. We were at the hospital before sunrise. The pre-op room was warm and too bright. Dr. Lee drew a little rocket on Ethan's wristband and said, "Crew is ready." Ethan squeezed Orbit, the dinosaur, and whispered, 10. I nodded. We counted together, 10, 9, 8. He was brave all the way to 1. They rolled him through the doors. The beeps faded. The room felt like a held breath. The waiting room had the usual, bad coffee, better volunteers, a TV no one watched. I set the blue folder on my lap, like armor. Sam arrived first with 2 cups and a look that would lift a car. A minute later, Dad came in. Tie straight eyes, not. Mum followed with a rosary she only uses when she needs something. She sat, then stood, then sat again. 15 minutes after that, Sophie walked in, no makeup, hair in a knot, holding a small bunch of real leaves from their yard. For the room that doesn't need a wall, she said, quiet, and set them next to Orbit's spare hat. I'm here. The OR nurse called once. We're on bypass, stable. She spoke like a bridge that wasn't going to fall. An hour passed, then 2. The clock crawled with soft shoes. Dad cleared his throat like he always does when he wants to control the air. The refunds are pending, he said. I told relatives we changed the look. No one needs the details. No one will miss the cannons, Sam said. Mum rubbed the beads. I said things I can't defend, she said. I hid behind non-refundable like it was holy. Don't make it about guilt, I said. Because I didn't have room for that and fear at the same time. Make it about Monday. The nurse called again. Coming off bypass, her voice carried a new kind of careful, "Next update from the surgeon." Those words have weight. Even the TV went quiet. We waited 30 more minutes that felt like 100. In my head, I saw timers and walls and every signature we pushed through last night, all lined up like dominoes that had to fall in the right direction. I kept my eyes on the deposit receipt because it was the one line that said, "We keep going." The doors opened. Dr. Lee walked in, cap off, smile small and real. "Valve patch is in," she said. "Good flow, good rhythm. He's on his own heartbeat. We'll keep him intubated a short time and reassess. You did exactly what you needed to do when you needed to do it. Nice work getting the deposit in." I didn't cry. My lungs just remembered how to be lungs. Sam exhaled like he'd been holding up the ceiling. Mum's rosary stilled. Dad looked down at his hands like they could do less harm than he thought. "Can we see him?" I asked. "In 20 minutes, she said. "One at a time. He'll be puffy." That's normal. The space beeps will be loud. When we went back, the PICU hummed with soft machines and competent shoes. Ethan looked small and fierce under warm blankets, rocket on his wristband peeking out. I touched his foot and said, "Hey, astronaut. Mission is good." His eyelashes fluttered like a promise. Back in the waiting room, Sophie sat next to me. "I was cruel," she said. "About your life. About choices." "Some things aren't choices," I said. "This was math." She nodded. "We changed the welcome sign," she added, quick and shaky. "No more hashtag. It says, we picked leaves over a wall and compassionate care over confetti. Favors are donation cards now. People can do something that isn't a video." I let that stand there and be what it was. Movement. Dad took a breath. "I wired Sam the 7.5, he said. "I'll cover any balance the credits can't catch." I told the bank, "This is priority." He looked at me like a man practicing a new word. "No more threats. Tuition, weddings, deposits, none of that buys obedience. It never should have." "Thank you," I said, and this time it was thanks, because that statement wasn't leverage. It was repair. Mum wiped her eyes with the corner of her sleeve. "I want to host a dinner when he's home," she said. "You pick the menu. Adult table is yours." It was a funny thing to promise in a hospital, but it felt like the right kind. The nurse waved me in for another minute. Ethan blinked up slow without the tube now, mouth dry. "We did the countdown," he whispered. "We did," I said. "And we won." We spent the afternoon learning the rhythm of the room, oxygen, numbers, nurses who should be paid more. At 4:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. Venue credits cleared early, total returned, $24,000. Compassionate care, match posted. Family contribution verified. Balance now $0. I printed the $0 in my head and taped it to every future argument. 2 days later, we walked Ethan past the fish tank in the lobby. His backpack full of stickers and a discharge packet thick with instructions. Dad brought the car around. Mum held the door with both hands like she could hold the world. Sophie buckled Orbit in next to Ethan and said, "Seatbelts for dinosaurs." Sam brought the rest of the bags. At home, the baby monitor went back on the shelf. The kitchen timer from the tasting sat face up on the counter. Blank. Quiet. Weeks from now, there will be a wedding with real leaves and fewer tricks. People will eat and dance and maybe cry in the sweet way. A box on a table will say compassionate care. Fund and hold bills instead of sparklers. Fine, good. But the receipt I kept wasn't from a florist or a band. It was the hospital statement that said, paid in full. And a note from Dr. Lee, valve repair. Successful. My parents spent $230,000. On a weekend, they could post, "We spent $85,000 and a lot of predon, a heartbeat we could hear. In the end, the only wall that mattered was the one his heart stopped hitting. Love didn't look like ice or roses. It looked like signatures, a midnight deposit, and a small boy sleeping under a dinosaur named Orbit, while the space beep sang him home.